everyone, welcome to our channel, Rebecca, Stu, and the crew. My name is Rebecca, and today we have a new fall DIY for y'all. So let's get started with the supplies. We'll need this $3 sign from Dollar General. We're also going to use some of the faux leather from Dollar Tree. I got that for 50 cents a box. We'll need some fall floral and some fall ribbon of your choice, which matches your home decor. And then we'll need some glue. I'm going to use this 3-in-1 glue from Hobby Lobby, or you can use hot glue, some scissors, and a pencil. And that is it for the supply list, other than some twine to tie off our bows. So let's get crafty, crew. The very first thing we're going to do is take our sign from Dollar General. We're going to lay it on top of our faux leather piece and trace around the outside edge of each of the pumpkins so that you can cut this out. So you want to be careful. If you push too hard, the leather will slide around underneath and it makes it a little bit harder to make sure that you're cutting on the line and getting it to fit within those pieces without it overhanging. I noticed I had done that. I was pushing it a little bit too hard, and once I had this all cut out with my scissors, I actually had to go back in and redo it because it was still a little bit too big, and you could see the leather going past the pieces of the pumpkin. So I had to trim it down just a little bit. So just so you know, don't push too hard or you're going to have to do the same thing I did and go back in and adjust it just a little tad there. So once I have this all cut down to size, I'll keep working getting all of the pieces of leather cut down so that I'm able to glue them on the back of the sign to give these pumpkins a little bit of color. So I love this sign so much. I think it's pretty all by itself. It really doesn't need a whole lot to dress it up. So that's what I'm trying to be mindful of as I decorate this. Sometimes less is more. I absolutely love this 3-in-1 glue. You can get it at Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Michael's. Lots of craft stores sell it. And what I like about it is it gives you time to move the leather around, but it has a pretty quick grab. So once it's down, about 10 seconds or so, you have to move it around. Then it usually holds pretty well. And what is really nice is it doesn't have that bulk like you would expect from like hot glue. Sometimes using hot glue, it's a little too thick and it will push the leather back off away from the background. And this has a nice tight hold, so it looks like a nice seal without the spaces around the edges there. Also, you don't really need a whole lot. You don't have to completely fill in the spaces. So, try not to use too much of it so it's not oozing out from underneath of the spaces. Though if it does, it's pretty easy to clean up because like I said, it doesn't dry as fast as the hot glue. So it gives you a few seconds to do some cleanup work if you need to. Once we have all of those pieces of leather glued down, we can start working on our bows. So we're going to do some very simple bows. I love this ribbon I picked up at the Dollar Tree this year. Thought it was really pretty with the soft colors. And all we're going to do is make little loops with the ribbon and some hot glue, and then take some twine or some string and gather the ribbon up in the center to create the pleats of the bow. And we're going to do 3 different bow sizes for each of the pumpkins. As they get larger in size, then of course the bow is going to get larger as it goes down to the bottom of the sign. And once you have your bows all made and gathered together, then you can dress them up a little bit with some fall floral. I have these really pretty little orange flowers that I got. They kind of look like wildflowers you would see at the side of the road, which is so pretty to me. When I saw them, they looked so realistic. I had to grab some. And so I got a few bundles and I've been using them in my fall crafting this season. I just thought they were so pretty, but you want to cut the stems down pretty far so you can tuck the floral down into the bow without them sticking out too far. So I'm just going to glue a little bit of those wildflowers to the middle of the bow, and then I cut down a few pieces of the leaves and I'll stick those down in between the pleats of the bow with some hot glue. And then we can go ahead and attach these bows to our sign in between each of the stacked pumpkins. And we're just going to use our hot glue to attach the bow because we wanted a really nice secure hold. Not that the other glue wouldn't work here, but the hot glue just seems to do a faster, better job at holding the larger items. We've got all 3 of our bows on, and that is it. Like I told you guys, less is more. It's so pretty just as is. So that was a really fun, easy craft to do. For our second craft, we're going to need some cardstock. I got that at Dollar Tree for $1.25. We'll need one of their wooden square signs, some paint. We'll need this Rub and Buff from Hobby Lobby, also some fall floral of your choice. We're also going to need some fall ribbon, and then we'll use 4 of these gold thumbtacks. We'll need some twine. We're also going to use a Sharpie, or you can use a black paint marker. We'll need a squeegee and some hot glue. We're also going to need some scissors. And that's it. So let's get crafty, crew. So for our second DIY today, we're going to take our large piece of cardstock. It's 12 by 12. They had these 40 sheet packs for $1.25 recently. They were all white, and I was real excited to find that. It's a great price. So all we're going to do is take our pumpkin orange paint, and we're going to create 3 arches and use our squeegee to pull the paint down. Let it dry, or use a hair dryer to let it dry a little bit faster. Create some more arches for the different pieces of the pumpkin, and you're just going to again squeegee straight down, pulling the paint to create this layered effect. So if you saw our video where we did the layered ghost family portraits, that's pretty much the same idea, just using the same idea to make this layered pumpkin. I love how the paint dries in different layers and you're able to see all the different parts of the pumpkin. So once we've got it all dry, we're going to take a Sharpie, or you can use a paint marker, and create these little squiggly lines and dots. So what this is doing is helping us establish the border for the pieces of the pumpkin and help them to pop off of the paper just a little bit. And then once we have the outer edge done, we'll go ahead on the inside and create a little bit more detail. Again, it's just a squiggly line and some little dots following the round shape of the oval. And you don't need to be an artist to do that. It's very simple. It's just a squiggly line. So now if you have some twine or some nautical rope, this would be a little bit easier to do to create a stem. I did not have any, so I'm just using some brown paper. It's like the paper you can lay down for like little kids to do craft projects on. And it's like a newsprint, so it's pretty thin. So all we're going to do is twist it to make a stem. Again, you could use nautical rope for this part. I did not have any, which is why I'm using the paper, but that works as well. I actually really enjoyed working with the paper. I thought it was nice to work with. It's very pliable and easy to move around to create these different shapes. And then we just attach it to the paper with some hot glue. So now that our stem is done, we're going to add some more details to the pumpkin. So we're taking some brown paint that we've watered down a little bit, and then a paintbrush that has the pretty stiff bristles. And then we just flick that with our thumb to create these little splatters on the pumpkin, which creates these little dots and helps it to look a lot more realistic. If the water and the paint is still a little bit too thick, you can add a little bit more water, just a few drops at a time, to thin the paint out to help it to be easier to make these little splatters. And then we'll water the paint down just a little bit more. I thought my stem was a little bit too light of a color. I wanted to darken it up a little bit, so I'm adding some brown paint, just very lightly brushing over the top of the paper with the brown paint. It doesn't have to be completely filled in. It helps create different layers and shadows. And then again, we'll dip our brush in some water to use some really watered down brown paint just to create some shadows. And all we're doing is following the shape of the pumpkin. To just follow the circular pattern, and that will help as your guide to know where to add these shadows. You have your lighter pieces in the middle, the darker section on the ends and around the archway. And then we'll let that dry. As that's drying, we can create some vines for our pumpkin. Again, if you have twine, you can just cut the twine down and then use your hot glue to create the little curly cues. So I'm going to use the paper since I didn't have any on hand at the moment. And once I used the paper for the stem, I decided to keep using the same medium for the vine. All we're doing is twisting like a half twist as we go down to the end of the paper. And then we can go ahead and kind of figure out first where we're going to put it. Once we kind of figure out where we want it to be and what we want it to look like, then we can start attaching it to the paper using some hot glue. I love how this gives a nice 3D effect and really helps the pumpkin to pop up off of the background, giving us all these 3D elements to the picture. So now we have our vine glued down. You can add as many or as little as you like. So we'll end up adding some more to the other side of the picture towards the end. And then again, I went over that with some brown paint to darken it up. So I've got all my vines added in, and now I'm going to take some of that rub and buff and that antique gold color. Just put a little tiny bit on the paintbrush and go over the vines and the stem to add some more layers of color and really give it that 3D effect. So just a little tiny bit, you really don't need a lot. And then we'll go around the outer edges like we did with the brown paint and add just a little bit of a highlight and a shimmer to the different parts of the pumpkin. You can see how I'm just following those outer edges and the archway that we created. I'm using just a dry paper towel, nothing fancy, to create the little lines and drag the buffing wax. What's nice about it is once it's on, it doesn't smear. You can drag your hand across it. It doesn't get all over everything. It's a great piece of element to like the artwork. I love working with it. I think it's so fun to add details to different art projects. And they sell it in a couple different colors. A little goes a long way. That little tiny tube will last you pretty much forever. I've had that little bottle for almost 2 years now. So now we'll add some leaves with our hot glue. I just pulled these off of some of the fall floral from the Dollar Tree. I like to fold some of the leaves over sometimes to help make them look just a little bit more realistic, like they're out in nature, how you would expect to find them. They wouldn't all look exactly the same. So I'm going to, change them up just a little bit. We'll do some layered looks with the leaves. I always try to place things down before I glue them down and decide, do I like it there or not, before I commit to putting it down with the glue. So now we'll take this paper and we're going to put it on top of the layered wood sign and use the thumbtacks in the corners to look like nails and tack it down to the wooden sign. Create this really pretty layered look, gives some strength to the background. And this is just a sign I'm going to put like to lean. I'm not going to hang it, so there won't be a hanger on the back. I just created a very simple layered bow with some twine and some different Dollar Tree ribbon. I just created an X pattern and then tied the ribbon off in the middle. And then added a very simple twine bow to the middle. We glued that down with some hot glue. And then we'll dovetail the ends of the ribbon. It looked a little bit too long, so I shortened up a few of the pieces. And then I had these old give thanks signs from last year from Dollar Tree I wanted to use up. So I kind of figured out where I wanted that to go. And again, we'll add some more of these fall leaves to the bottom just to help tie it all together from top to bottom. And we'll just layer the leaves with some hot glue. I'll do 2 on each side. And then for the little give thanks sign, I really just like the natural wood look. I thought it matched the wood palette sign in the back. And so I just left it as is, added some hot glue and put that right in the middle. And use some hot glue to glue that down. And again, I wasn't going to hang this, I'm going to lean it. So I didn't add a hanger to the top, but a really cute hanger with some beads would be really cute. So here's the speckled look up close and our stem with the vines. You guys can see the up close vision of that. And there it is, all finished. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that thumbs up button and the notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. And here are some other videos from our channel you might also enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.